Hey guys, so we got a Ryu focused episode this week, and I love this for several different reasons. First is that this is an episode that really made me realize how underdeveloped Ryu was in the original anime. And it's not like I'm gonna say he got no development, but watching this episode, it did still feel very. But watching this episode, it did make me realize just how surface level Ryu's development in the original anime was. Like like we like we weren't given a full story, but here we just got to see like a lot more character from Ryu in this episode. And granted, what we got in this episode isn't too far off from what we already know, but it's also getting to the core that the person we basically see now of Ryu is the person he's actually always been. It over the tough and violent street punk we saw at the beginning of the series. All it really took is for someone, just for anyone, in order to show some actual compassion, in order to put him on that path. And that's kind of what happened with when he met Yo. For example, and like putting it for example though, his reaction to Lyser getting severely injured shows he generally sees a lot of Lyser in himself, someone who was lost and needed the same guidance he was offered by Yo and his grandpa, and it shows just, and that little moments like that really show just how much Ryu has grown over the series. Also, one other thing that's definitely an improvement and carryover from last week's episode, and really the entire show, but really the entire reboot, is how it did touch on and develop Ryu's relationship with Tokageroh a little bit. Or maybe that's a little too. It didn't develop his relationship, but it definitely showed a lot more of the strength of Ryu's relationship with Tokageroh, and the way they interact as Shaman and Guardian Ghosts. Like it's treating the Guardian Ghosts like real individual characters, whereas again in the original they felt like sources of power that would just hang around our main characters. But in this episode, by getting just the simple dynamics between the two, we're able to understand why Ryu and Tokageroh make such a great pair. They're pretty much two delinquents, but they're delinquents that trust in each other. And based on the preview, it looks like we're gonna get a lot more of that as well. Of course, we do have to talk about the end where Ryu basically taps into what you call Tokageroh's true power, that of a multi-headed snake. And that's a little harder to explain without giving away spoilers for the next episode, but I will say aesthetically, even though the purple color of the spirits of the snakes themselves does mesh better with Tokageroh's spirit, I do miss the white color aesthetic that the original had given to them, because it made him feel it made what we're seeing now like pretty much feel like Tokageroh and this snake spirit are two different spiritual entities, again, as you'll soon come to know in next week's episode. With that said, this is again another episode where, even though there is an argument about less build-up, I appreciate how it's not taking dozens of episodes for the story to move forward, and not taking us even longer time for us to get to Patch Village, as we essentially reach the checkpoint in order to reach the village itself in this episode. And so after this battle, they'll have already gotten to Patch Village, which again, all four, because I've already said it before, but the pacing in the original anime in terms of when they reach Patch Village, again, not the greatest. And I understand why. Again, it's because the manga wasn't finished yet, but still, it makes me realize how much more they could have done with the original anime if they just tried a little harder. Also, because we're taking from the source material, I do appreciate how this episode gave a little bit more emotional weight to the battle, and to basically the battle between Ryu and Boris, and the character, and to the battle and character like I had previously I had previously seen as essentially filler, in this case Ryu versus Boris, which, yeah, I'm not lying. When I saw the battle with Boris, I felt like when I saw the battle with Boris in the original anime, it felt largely pointless. Like it's really just one of those things that basically came and went as something that just happened. Like, okay, that happened, let's move on. But here it is being tied into the story a little more, on top of making Boris himself a lot more likable and tragic, and his story a lot more tragic as well. Like, just the whole thing of being persecuted just because of your family is that is definitely something. I think that is a very unfortunately, I think that is something in a lot of ways I think can be like taken into real world context even now. Um, but also on top of just being better at showing that for as much as a threat as How himself is, his followers are equally as dangerous, and but but on but also showing that How has this very how the strength of How's followers in a lot of ways are really only possible because of How's natural ability to manipulate the fears of others and their fear of persecution. Like, How manipulates that and makes people believe what he's saying. Like, it's a very simple tactic, but it's a very effective one in a world like this. And it truly shows as to why the council is so fearful of How, but at the same time, because of the Great Spirit, they refuse to do anything. Like, it really shows just how useless I think the council is acting right now. Like, if the council can't do shit against this guy, then what is the point of your existence? And I like how that's kind of being exposed as well. And I loved, also, on a lighter note, I loved how the episode just blatantly called out how another character in Boris's group looks more physically similar to Dracula than he does himself. In fact, I think that joke actually worked much better in the anime than the manga. And, okay, I know I'm harping on it, but unfortunately, as long as it's a problem that persists, I'm gonna have to keep talking about it, which is the censorship is still frustrating as fuck. Especially in this episode, where, where like this, that focuses on a vampire-themed character. It's one of those things where it's one of those things where I say, okay, so let me get this straight. You guys had no problem in showing even just this tiniest splash of what's essentially blood mist when Boris attacked Lyserg, but the moment when Boris stabs his partner, all of a sudden we gotta edit that shit out, like edit that shit out, or basically censor it completely. Like, honestly, Studio Bridge, pick a damn lane already. Are you gonna censor shit or not? Because some of this censorship, again, is just so fucking nonsensical, and it makes me hope even more that when the Blu-ray DVDs come out, there is going to be, in fact, a version of this footage without these weird censorship changes. Like, I'm praying to God that the DVD, praying to God at this point that the DVD Blu-ray is going to be completely uncensored, because this, I want to assume it's all broadcast, but at the same time, I just don't know. It's so frustrating to see this shit. Also, we get a little moment in this episode showing Manta had thrown around a little influence in order to be able to help out the others, and him just wanting to be there to see how the world will change from the Shaman fights. So it's showing how much Manta has just grown from just being around Yo and the others, because even if he can't really do anything on the same level as the others in terms of fighting or helping, it still shows that still being around them has broadened his horizons, as well as given him a much larger view of the world that he never had before, in the sense where Manta has realized anything that affects the Shaman world is going to ultimately affect the world for everyone and the world he lives in. And he just wants to be there until the end to witness it, whether that means the world's destruction or peace between Shaman and human. And yeah, again, I feel if nothing else, this series is definitely the reboot is definitely a redemption for a lot of the secondary characters of the show, to be sure. But yeah, guys, that's pretty much all I got for this review. Enjoy the video, like, comment, subscribe. Follow me on Twitter and Crunchyroll. Be sure to hit the notification bell, hit the subscribe button, and just kind of share this around, guys. Death Knight of Manny, signing off. Later.